What's up, everybody? This is Edward back with another video. Y'all see the title? Shout out. And I may open a Discord server pretty soon. I'm actually looking into that, seeing what the value is in that and everything. So be tuned to that. Shout out to Art of Igmore. I had a great stream last night. Shout out to but this video is going to be commenting on the video Concrete Rose and Danielle did earlier, just a few hours ago on their channel. I'll put it in the community tab. But they were asking, like, what is a good black woman? And the purpose of that, I guess, was to get a black man's perspective. I came in at the tail end of it, so keep that in mind. So some of this stuff may have been addressed. I don't know. There was some great people on there. BGS, Mr. Research, Game Changer, Roger. It was everybody on there was pretty much insightful, and I know they know what the fuck they're talking about. So, with that being said, we're gonna jump right into it. So I told them, because I said what I said, and then it was at the tail end. So a good black woman, to me, the recipe of a good black woman is pretty much, feminine, cooperative, and fundamentally operates, I'm going to say, in common sense. Because when you say logic, it sounds like you're kind of talking where you're basically saying these women need to think logically, like think like men, but at the same time being women. So I'm going to just charge it to common sense. And common sense is logical thought for the most part. It's logical thought with taking into account a woman's, propensity to want to be subjective on shit. It's kind of like, how if you're in geometry, you're doing geometry or you're doing any kind of mathematics, you have to show your work. Like, how did you come up with that outcome? Well, that's what common sense is. You can feel whatever you want to feel, but common sense is still supposed to be your anchor, because at the end of the day, you are an adult. This is not a child, and you're supposed to think like an adult. And regardless if especially if you're a male, but even if you're a female, you're still supposed to be grounded in common sense, which is adult thinking. So you don't get to just be completely, delusional and fucking magical about real shit and then think you're gonna blame somebody else for your lack of outcomes. So that's what I mean when I say common sense. I mean, pretty much logic informs your shit. You can feel what you want to feel, but does this actually make logical sense? So what I said was common sense, femininity, and cooperation. The reason why I mission is not because I give a fuck about what somebody thinks. It's really because you have to understand, when black men are making the complaints that we're making, always like frame. Now, they didn't frame it that way in this video, but we know what the manosphere is. We know how it gets down, right? We know what the counter arguments is. So the reason why I'm using the term cooperation is because, first of all, that's reasonable expectations. A woman should truly submit only to her husband or the man that she's really laying with. And if you can't submit to a man that you're laying with, you should be laying with him, even if you're sexually attracted. And sexual attraction should not be the only thing that really has you in submission. And if it is, then that's an issue with you. But even outside of that, you have to understand, we deal with black women in all areas of activity. Even like familial, work, all areas of activity, political, economical, all areas of activity. Even when you look at economics, think about like the Megan Thee Stallion situation with, shout out to Ramil. Ramil had an incredible video on that, and it was very insightful. A lot of folks direct from Houston. Y'all need to check that shit out because you learn a lot. Especially if you're older. But anyway, even economical, when you look at how black men deal with each other economically, how Jay Crawford invested in Megan and how Megan's operating, even that shit is not on code. And to be fair, that shit would be happening even if it was two black men. So I'm not making that a gender issue, but you get what I'm saying. And, that's some shit that she would pull on a black man, but she wouldn't pull that shit on a white man. They won't pull that shit on white men. They deal with what their deal is, and they work through that deal because those folks have a capability of shutting down their ability to get business done. And they know that. But whatever. My point is, even in how we deal with each other in every area of activity, some are better than others. You know, like dealing with black women in business is not really the same as dealing with black women like in other areas, because at the end of the day, you can either produce or you don't. And everybody can't produce. So there's a different value set there. But you get what I'm saying. So being cooperative, what I really mean is black women need to treat black men as human beings. Fuck, even the men shit should be there, but we're just talking about as human beings. One thing that a lot of women do is they will go into what I call the real world, and they'll put on a fucking face, and then they'll come back to black America, and then they'll take that face off or that mask off and say, okay, now I can be how I really am. So black men have to tolerate certain things that other groups don't have to tolerate because you want to put a face on for them. But for us, it's like, oh, you can be real. You can be that matriarchal bad bitch that has an attitude. That's normal to you. Black men can't do that. Black men can't put on a face with white folks and then we come home, we just be a straight asshole to you. That's not tolerated. But that's expected. That's expected. So that's what I mean when I say cooperation. And I could do a whole video on that, and I probably will do a video on each of these three elements, because it's not what you think. It's not, well, I'm using cooperation because I can't get submission. That's not what I'm talking about. It goes far deeper than that. It really goes down to black women recognizing a basic humanity in black men that I don't fundamentally see that they do, because they're trained not to, but it doesn't matter the why. It just is. Because if I respond to whys, they respond to what in front of them. So it's like, as black men, we're not allowed to respond to something that we don't like, but we're supposed to understand why. But at the end of the day, you can't use the why to adjust the behavior. Doesn't make sense. Also, another thing I want you all to keep in mind is this. One of the issues that black women have is, even the fundamental question of what is a good black woman. The question is flawed in the gynocracy, because what it suggests that black men just have this natural built-in or socialized, I won't say natural, but socialized contempt for black women, and there's this standard that black men are asking of black women that are not reasonable. Black women are mean to black men as a default. Black women have a disposition of disrespect to black men by default. The problem is not that black men do not have a problem with black women. Black women have a problem with black men. Black men that are either they're not related to, or they're not sexually attracted to, do not have any inherent value to black women. But we are taught that even an ugly, obese bitch can have value to black men. Big mama, shit like that. That's really what the issue is. And when I say cooperation, that's kind of the fundamental thing that I'm really hitting at when I really say that. Is that black women inherently do not value black men at all. They don't, not only do they not value them, they don't see them of value at all. Which basically puts what's the difference between black women and the only difference between black women and non-black men is non-black men see you as a genetic threat, and black women see you is basically neutral to the point where they don't care if you're alive or not alive. You're just there. So anything that you do that's not adding is a method of subtraction, because they're starting out as zero. which pretty much puts them in the same box. I would make this argument. I could make the argument that non-black women probably have a better sense of humanity of black men. And I'm not even to talk about white women. Because everybody talks about white women that's the first thing I go, as if white women are only ethnicity. Then I'd say most black women do. And the fact that I could even say that, and I could actually probably make a strong case for that, speaks volumes to what I'm talking about. And it is so built in that it's the water that people are swimming in. And most black men just don't want to face it. So it's never like black men are ever going to be a seriously united front to really handle it. Because at the end of the day, you got black men that are in denial. Remember what I told you with black men: ego and guilt. Ego and guilt. Also, black men are gonna the ego part is like, well, I'm getting sexual cooperation, so therefore, they fuck with me. No, they don't, because all them niggas in child support got sexual cooperation. All them niggas that have been fucked over in paternity fraud, they were fucking the bitch. That's why they believed it was his. Just because the bitch is fucking you that don't mean shit. It really doesn't. Not necessarily. There's a difference between you fucking a bitch and then you got that dick got control of that chick. I've seen the difference, and if you've never seen it, you don't really know how to put your finger on it. But my point is, those are the three elements. So when we ask these questions, we ask them as though that, well, what does a good black woman needs to start the fuck out with understanding that a black man is a person with feelings, a person with emotions, and this idea of what can black men do for me, and outside of that, they might as well be dead. That kind of mentality needs to go. And the reason why I wanted to do this video, because I heard a couple people, but Game Changer in particular said something that jumped out. Because I was hopping around, and he said that, black women got half they foot into the sisterhood, and half of it is into wanting to be pro-black. And you can't really be both. Because even black men that say they're black male first, they're still taking black women on a case-by-case basis. They're not sitting here and saying, I'm gonna co-sign obvious fuckery. If a woman has a complaint about a black man and it's obvious that black man is wrong, even dudes that are black male first are not sitting here and fucking they're not sitting here and fucking saying, well, I'm gonna code with the black I'm gonna code with the black man just cause it's obvious fuckery. Like, you don't have niggas like black men. Let's say you get a deal with a black man and he just nuts in a bitch, and then now they got a kid and that dude is crying about child support. I mean, at the end of the day, she chose to have his baby. That's absolutely true. But you don't got black men sitting here talking about, oh, like the dude just said he nutted in the chick and he's complaining about child support. People act as though black men are not gonna ever bring up, nigga, you knew this chick was a bitch from jump and you just busted in her ass. Like, is that what you doing? You just busted in bitches? Especially if you got more than one kid. Dudes are not gonna just act like that's not there. Now women will take the woman's side. You could be dealing with a bitch that's got 3 kids by 3 different dudes, and a woman, and she's bitching about all these niggas. They all ain't shit. And the women will actually say, yeah, all black men ain't shit. They will actually talk to her as if there is nothing wrong with the shit that she's saying. Or a bitch is talking about a nigga ain't shit, and she's like the 4th baby mama. It may be her first kid, but she's the 4th baby mama. And I'm like, okay, like women will sit there and actually act like that's not a problem. They will actually talk about future, like a situation like that, and say, no, he's an asshole. Look at how he ain't shit. I'm like, bitch, what? Yeah, okay, if the dick worked great, you know, but the fuck you doing having this baby? What the fuck are you doing catching baby fever from a nigga that has already 3 baby mamas? Like, seriously though, women don't do that. They create echo chambers to where they only stick to one part of the story. But men don't do that shit. If you're doing obvious fuck shit, maybe not our way to try to bring that as far as hunt for that story. But at the end of the day, because we know men are going to deal with consequences regardless. because that's how the society is built. The society is really so built for women to scapegoat shit. That's why they acting like they acting now. Yeah, black women were quiet with Lonnie Love. Now I tell you, they not as quiet now that Lonnie Love talk about black women don't know how to eat. Which, you know, she can speak on that shit before. I ain't even trying to play her. Lonnie Love is a fat black woman that is college educated. And let's be clear, I don't give a fuck if y'all say she fuckable or not. If she were to lose that weight, obviously she would look better than what she looks. She's not like a fundamentally ogre, like deformed bitch. If she got to whatever weight she needed to get to, that would probably help out her stock a lot. But she has an eating problem. And I'm not saying that to mean people pour into, you know, eating is no big, bad, worse an addiction than anything else. Except, you know, it's the same kind of brain things. It's just not as amplified. And black women have that problem. She was speaking of the culture of black women and food. But guess what? She can't say that. I still don't agree with what the fuck she said with the brothers, but she can't say that. Because in her mind, she was talking shit about black men, but she's trying to help the sisterhood, but that's not sanctioned because you're making black women feel bad about themselves. Exactly, payback. If Tarana Burke can get a black man, then black men are not the problem. If Tarana Burke can find a black man and all the crimes she's done, then obviously black women could understand that the problem is not that black men have an issue with you. Obviously, you all are substandard, yes. But the problem is that you all have an issue with us. And this comes back to that shit. I've always themselves as a victimizer. They always have to be a fucking victim because that justifies their function. Black female fuckery is justified and rooted by the constitution of victimhood. They're not accountable to anything because they are only reacting to shit they fundamentally want to pretend like they do not control. That's not true, but that's the narrative that's imprinted into their brains. That's the reality, that's their worldview. This is why they always talk about black queen, sisterhood, all this other bullshit. This is also why when you see brothers, it was a shirt where brothers said black women only. Because they buy in, that's that black male guilt. They buy into this narrative of black women victimhood. They buy into it. They absolutely buy into it. And that's where a lot of brothers fuck up. These women lead them. They lead them in the emotional women control. The shit is always framed from how emotion, like the black woman and the black man failed the black woman. So therefore, anything the black woman does is disrespectful, is justified. Because as long as we're under this white supremacist system, it's fundamentally our fault. Black men can't be victims because at the end of the day, you have not, as a man, your job is to get that black bitch out of her emotional disposition. That's really what it is. This is why black male pain, whether it's a black boy or a black man, hell, fuck the black men, let's talk about the black boys. None of that shit is recognized. None of it is recognized because it's all fundamentally rooted in the fact that it's all a black man's fault, whether it's a black man or it's a black boy. It is something, it's a penalty that black males across the board have to deal with. And this is why it's seen that no matter what a black woman does, if a black man leaves the black community or chooses to opt out of that shit on some Shark Tank type shit, it's seen as an absolute betrayal. Even when black boys say that shit, even when black boys say some shit like that, it's seen as a betrayal, and unforgivable when it's that. This is why Gabrielle Union, think about it. The fuck? Hold on one second, y'all. Think about it. That's why Gabrielle Union has no problem with Dwayne Wayne's youngest son being Fruit of the Loom, yet she made it a priority for Dwayne Wayne's son to like dark-skinned black women, or to have a preference for that. But at the same time, she had no problem with him. Like, she has no problem with his sexual preference. Think about that for a second. Gabrielle Union has no issue with Dwayne Wade's sexual preference, but she has every issue. She has every issue with trying to control what his skin tone preference was. Think about that for a fucking second. Sorry, y'all. I saw it was a McLaren out there, and I had to take a picture of it. That's basically what I did, what I was doing. Y'all may see that on the next thumbnail video. But think about that for a fucking second. Like, that's the mindset. And I know people say, oh, well, Gabrielle Union's not representative of... No, she's representative of a segment of black women. There's a lot of black women that think like that. She's not on her own. Now, would I say that that's the majority? To varying degrees, I would say no, it's not. But because it takes a special type of chick to be like that, but I would say it's not as small of a minority as people like to think. It's just a matter to what degree do people operate on that shit. But we all know that black women have a very interesting relationship with sexuality. They really do. They got a whole bunch of gay male friends, a lot of them, but they want to talk about, they the first ones to try to emasculate somebody. But that's just what I wanted to put out there, because when we ask these questions, and I get a title is a title. A title is designed to get you to click on it. And in that, they do a good job with their titles, right? But I just wanted to be real about, what the issue. If black women not good enough, because that frames it from a victimhood standpoint. And no, black men would have been bounced out of the community. By all intents and purposes, black men should have abandoned black women probably like 3 decades ago. In the 2000s, black men, we should be where the millennials, quite frankly, should be where the zillennials are right now, and what they're kind of doing. Quite frankly, the millennials should have been that generation. You all were given a reprieval generation, quite frankly. You all were given a reprieval generation. The millennial generation was a reprieval generation. And now the zillennials are the ones that's really about to close that gap, close that loop. But really, the millennials should have been the ones that did that. But the millennials are going to be the group that basically examines the shit, and the zillennials are going to see that this shit's a fucking buzzsaw off jump, so I'm out. I'm fucking out. That's basically what it is. So when we frame the conversation from black men don't think we're good enough. No, it ain't. You make it sound like black women are trying. You make it sound like black women are putting effort out. And black men are just saying, nope, nope, nope. The reason why black women lose their men to the extent that they do is because black women have set the bar so low. BGS, it was a video BGS did, and he said that black women, dudes be falling in, and like it was a survey with dudes, and that a lot of the dudes were falling in love with women simply because a lot of women just were nice to them with black men, but they were saying it with other men as well. And people would say, well, that's some goofy ass shit, but is it? Like, really think about that for a second. Really think about that. You wouldn't value kindness if it was something that was just guaranteed. But if it's something that's not guaranteed, then you're going to value it more. The truth be told, black women are mean, so therefore kindness is something that's going to get value. So the bar has been set so unbelievably low that shit that really, quite frankly, dudes shouldn't be moving on, they are moving on. And then people get mad because they don't want to understand the why behind it. They just want to say this shouldn't be happening. Because again, women, they can't look like 5 feet past their own emotional bullshit. This is They don't think. And even when they think, they really don't think. They just emotionally validate themselves. But they're really not really thinking. Let's see what the fuck. Wood burn. I mean, that's real fucking talk. No, because it ain't a whole bunch of feminine black women. So let me see. I mean, really, you right. A lot of the transition should have happened with the Xers, and then millennials should have closed it down. But that's not what happened. So anyway. Exactly. Black women pretend to be feminine. And by the way, black men can tell. But even black men that haven't dealt with a lot of femininity, black men can tell black women that are fronting versus black women that are fundamentally feminine, and it's not has nothing to do with how they look. You know, like black women don't really understand that. Motherfuckers can tell when you're faking. It's very obvious. I can even tell when women that coach that shit are bullshit, because you never truly remove that shit. Because there's a certain black women have to understand there's a certain ego. Like, to be feminine, you have to be humble. And there's a certain, and truly feminine women can tap into that humility relatively easily. Especially black women. And black women that, and by the way, non-black women it's forced upon them. So it's easier for them to tap into it. But for black women, it's more of a choice. So black women have a harder time to tap into it, and that's what a lot of y'all don't. I'm gonna tell you the truth, because I know that's how confident I know y'all can't do it. That's the tell. The tell is when it's an ego. If you can't be feminine and not have your ego checked. Ego and femininity can't coexist. Not at the same time. It can't. So the problem that you all are running into. Why dudes don't believe you, quote unquote, is because it's very obvious. The ego part is what we can detect. And you all can't check that ego. That's why as soon as y'all get mad, or as soon as somebody say something, y'all go to that emasculation. Because what you're trying, when black women are attacking, when they try to emasculate a black man, is they're attacking a black man's ego. Remember what I keep fucking saying. Ego and guilt. That's the psychological triggers, and that's their go-to. If you have a certain mastery of your ego, or in order for somebody, like, it's like if a fat bitch wanted to talk about you, you wouldn't give a fuck. Why? Because you're like, look at this bitch, she can't touch my ego, because she doesn't rise to somebody that I wouldn't even believe is necessary to even affect me. Unless you're absolutely insecure. But that's what they're going after. So yeah, that's the tell. What would a feminine woman do? Well, feminine women, real talk, feminine women are not, if they're in a situation, they'll get quiet, but you're still operating in passive aggression, or just remove themselves from a conversation if they feel like there's absolutely nothing they can, or the conversation's gone in a way that that data that is not there. Or what they'll do is they'll be patient and try to ride the tide. They'll try to weather the storm and then let men get it out, and then state what they need to state again. But they'll allow dudes to exhaust whatever is needed to be exhausted. Well, I mean, if black women will never see black men as human beings, then, I mean, there's nothing to really talk about. Right? There's nothing to really talk about at that point. Everything that is said has been said. Well, no, even like, and by the way, what are you doing when you tell black women you only prefer black women? All you're doing is validating her ego, which a woman, again, and that's a masculine trait. Like when women, think about it, any other group where women profess their love for their men. That's just validating a man's ego. That's it. That's the purpose of doing that. It's the same thing in reverse. It's an ego trip. And that just shows you how backward the black community is. Shout out to Legitimate Processor. I don't know if you're a subscriber, but I haven't seen you before. Definitely subscribe. Yeah, black women don't see femininity out. If there's no tangible result for black women being feminine, they don't see the value in it. They don't understand that being feminine has just as much to do with women. A woman that is in her masculine energy is a woman that is not going to live a positive life. She's not. She's not going to live a fulfilled life. That's life. That's why all these females out here are fucking emotionally compromised and they don't know why. It has just as much to do with your own personal, mental, emotional, and physical health that it does a man. There's nothing that black men say that black men need to do for us that it doesn't have almost an equal benefit for them to do it for themselves. Gen Xers were the first with the opportunity, but you can see the way Gen Xers are wired. I mean, I get it, but you can see how they were the first to start. But you can kind of see how they're wired now. Exactly, key wisdom. Like black women, all black women don't have these issues. Women necessarily bad bitches or you really, I mean, honestly, if you're a black woman to get married with a decent dude, a dude that at least can produce for himself decently, it's not that hard. It's really not. The problem is these women have these quote unquote standards where they want it all, where they want it all, but they ain't it all. That's a great title for another video. You want it all, but you ain't shit. Or you want it all, but you ain't it all. As BGS said, you're not the mirror of a guy that has shit. You think you're old shit like a couch potato motherfucker think he owed a bad bitch just cuz. Well, the ego and guilt works on most black men. I mean, we're in minority. Most black men, that shit works like gangbusters. At least one of them. And most black men, both of them works. I mean, you know, and it's not hard. The problem is they don't want to really address the degrees. So again, I just wanted to put that out there, you know, 34 minutes in. I wanted to give y'all that Sunday thing, you know, Sunday, you know, talk. So it is what it is, y'all. Yeah. So with that said, I'll hit y'all up later. This is Edward signing off. Peace.